My guest today is singer-songwriter Pete Muller. Now, after releasing a pair of early albums, he got married, became a father, and while he eventually returned to the business he founded, he remained as dedicated as ever to his craft. And in 2014, he recorded his third album, Two Truths and a Lie, which introduced him to Avatar Studios, a New York landmark previously known as the Power Station, where icons like Bruce Springsteen and Paul Simon, even David Bowie and Bob Dylan had recorded. Now, upon learning the studio was under threat of being sold, Pete decided to use his resources in partnership with the city of New York and the Berklee College of Music to save, renovate, and relaunch the space as a world-class recording and educational facility. He would go on to record his next two albums, 2019's Dissolve and 2022's Spaces. They're launching a whole new chapter of his career that would find him sharing bills with artists like Joan Osborne and Webb, Livingston Tayler, and Paul Thorn, in addition to landing festival slots everywhere from Telluride to Montreux. Now, his newest album, More Time, Pete Muller has harnessed this amazing passion and infused it into his most striking and bold set of songs to date, and the focus of our discussion today. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome singer-songwriter Pete Muller to the show. Welcome, Pete.
Thanks so much, Ward. It's great to be here, and excited to talk with you.
Yeah, I read in your bio that you became spiritually drained from your day job to focus more on music. Did focusing on your music re-energize you?
You know, it's funny. I have both sides. I love math and figuring out puzzles, and the market is one big puzzle. And I love music and emotional expression in music. And I found in my life, if either side gets too much weight, I'm out of balance. So, and that can be draining. And I think if I only did music, the same thing would happen. So to me, it's just I have a number of passions and I've got to do them all. It's tricky.
I actually agree with that, because not only do I love talking to recording artists, I also love film. And, sometimes, and I'm like you, if one becomes very heavy on the scale, it's very refreshing to tip the scale the other way with the other interest that we have to keep everything in balance and, in a way, keep our passion and our momentum moving forward.
Exactly. And that was a thing for me, when I was, I built a business that I'm very proud of and still connected to and still in charge of, although eventually I will become an executive chairman there. But once I achieved all the things that I wanted to achieve there, I hadn't been listening to what was going on inside me. And as a result, my life almost blew up. I lost a great relationship. I almost lost the business. And I just had to take a step back. And I found that through songwriting and singing and performing, all of a sudden I came back alive. And I liked the fact that it was so humbling. Making music that touches people is really hard. You have to devote yourself to it. And even if you create something that's wonderful, it takes a while for people to notice. So it's a devotion, for lack of a better word.
I love that. Now, you have to give us the short story about renovating the famous Power Station recording studio. I actually had to, as I was writing up this interview for you, I had to go to my wife because she is this huge, devoted Duran Duran fan. And I said, I need to know the story about the Power Station, because I know when John Taylor and Andy Taylor split off for a time being, they created the Power Station with Robert Palmer, which the group was actually named after the recording studio. So why was it so important for you to renovate this amazing place?
It just, I will tell you the story. I'll try to make it short. It's the third album, which you mentioned, and thank you for that introduction. That's wonderful. I want to copy and paste that for people. A fellow named Rick Topafi, who's no longer with us, became a dear friend. He produced that album for me, and we recorded some of it at Power Station. and had a great time. He actually built John Laventhal's home studio. John's married to Roseanne Cash. We recorded a little bit over there, and I decided, Rick, I would love for you to build me a studio. Maybe I can just get a studio apartment in New York. You can turn it into a music studio. I can do my recording there. It'll be fantastic. So he started looking, and then he came to me, and this was right around the time that he had been diagnosed with a glioblastoma, which is a brain tumor and a death sentence in its 60s.
Yeah.
Just such a shame. Such a wonderful musician, just a great guy. And he came to me and he said, Pete, I'm looking for that studio apartment for you, but did you hear that Avatar is going to be sold and they're going to make it into condos? And I said, oh, no, that's a shame. And he said, I had this dream, you've got some resources. Maybe you should just buy the building and try to make it, Berklee, New York City. I've been on the board of the Berklee School of Music for a long time. And I thought, yeah, that brain tumor is kicking in. There's no way I'm going to do this. I mean, that place was a mess. It's hard to make money in the studio business. And, there were leaks on from the roof, and the way they dealt with it, instead of patching the roof, they would take a pipe and drain it all the way down to the street through the entire studio. There was asbestos. I mean, it was a disaster. Well, somehow I slept on it one night and came back and said, you know what? I guess, and I went to the president of Berklee at the time, Roger Brown, and I said, Roger, here's this crazy idea. I don't have time to manage the studio, but if you're interested, we could figure out a way to partner as long as we found somebody that could build it and manage it. And long story short, we did it. And it turned out to be great. I somehow talked New York City into kicking some money in. The way I did that, I went to them, I said, guys, if you kick some money into this project, you can have all the credit. You can claim you brought Berklee to New York City and you saved an iconic studio. The publicity will be really worth it. And luckily, Bloomberg was mayor at the time, and he had a film media department that was going on, and they said, this sounds like a cool project. And we did it. And then 5 years later, it finally opened, and there are a bunch of master programs from that Berklee has. There's been like 130 students this year. And the studio is functioning and basically comes close to breaking even. It has to be a bit of a nonprofit. So the combination of the school and the studio and philanthropy actually is a great model. And I got some great karma back, because when we had the party to celebrate doing this and we finally reopened it, Rob Mathis, who's a legendary guy. I mean, his main clients are Bruce Springsteen and Sting. And he met me at the party and he said, okay, who the hell are you? I don't know who you are, but you have no idea what you did. You saved this amazing, amazing place. And I said, I'm just a guy who likes playing music and has some resources. And he said, whatever you need, I'm your guy, whatever you need. And I said, well, I actually need a producer. And he said, I thought you had Rick DePaffy. He's great. And I said, Rick is not going to be around. We're making records. And Rob said, I'm your guy. And he made my next 2 records. And he actually workshopped a lot of the songs on the record we're talking about, More Time. He's just really great at poking and critiquing and helping shape it. He didn't have time to help record the record when I wanted to do it, so I did that in Memphis, and we can talk about that story.
Yeah.
He's become a great friend, and love sharing songs with him. And
I'm gonna thank you for taking that risk and saving that amazing place. And I know many musicians around the world are glad and thank you from that point of till now and beyond of having this amazing place in New York. Now for you, I did a little bit of research, watched a lot of your music videos, and listened to so much of your music. Who are some of your musical influences?
I mentioned Springsteen before. I was raised in New Jersey. He's definitely up there. Shawn Colvin, folk singer. She's, just fantastic. If you go more modern day, I love Brandi Carlile, but, I grew up with the Eagles and Jackson Browne and the Laurel Canyon crowd, singer-songwriter songs where the lyrics are carefully crafted. That really resonates with me. And then I also have something on the jazz side. I love Bill Evans and McCoy Tyner and Coltrane. So that's a big influence too, and it all gets mixed up in there.
And I would say it does get mixed up in there because I want to talk about this brand new album, More Time. I went back to listen to your Spaces album. More Time seems to be a complete different vibe than Spaces. What was your vision for the new album?
It's interesting. I didn't start with a vision. I actually went to Memphis and met Matt Ross Spang, and Matt made Jason Isbell's last record. He's won a Grammy for that. He's a wonderful guy, great ears, very different from Rob Mathis. So working with Rob, and this is for Spaces and Dissolve, the record before that, Rob is meticulous. Everything has a click track. If it feels like something has to speed up, we speed up the click track. We think about every inversion, voicing of every chord, exactly how it's going to work. We dive in. And Matt is much more of a just play it, right? Don't do a click. I just want to feel it. And so I went there to do a couple songs with him, and he brought a bunch of musicians. I sent him over some rough drafts with my just vocal and piano. And there was a problem. There was a distortion in what I sent him. Somehow in Dropbox, it got messed up. So the musicians never actually got to hear it. So we basically sat down and said, let's play the songs. And we recorded what we did after 3 or 4 takes. And that's actually what became the album. It was so much fun. I love the process. It was so organic that we just decided to make the whole record there.
Well, I was going to ask, why did you record the album in Memphis instead of just going to the power station in New York?
It would have been because I was working with Matt. And I was working with Matt's musicians. So a guy named Will Sexton, who's a great guitar player, Ken Coomer, Rick Steff, and Dave Smith, just 4 great Memphis musicians. And, they're Matt's guys, and it just worked. So I kept going back to Memphis to make the record. I think I took 3 or 4 trips down there.
Well, what did producer Matt Ross Spang do that maybe pulled you out of your comfort zone in the studio?
I think the biggest thing was he said, we're just going to track vocals and piano at once. And if we like the vocal, we're going to keep it. And we did actually on a number of the tracks. And, we're not going to use a click. So if you guys speed up or slow down, it's just, and I said, there's no way we can make a record and like that. And he played me, I can't remember what Stones song it was, but he basically, the BPM, the beats per minute in that Stones song just speeds up. I mean, like there's a difference of like 25 beats per minute. And you don't notice when you're listening to the song. And he said, you've heard this song 20 times and at least or more, and you've never noticed. And I said, no, I haven't. And he goes, same thing with your record. So if you listen, there are some songs where the beat varies a bunch and it doesn't matter. And I love that freeing spirit.
Yeah, and in a way, it will free you up. It frees the musicians up, and sometimes by allowing that to happen, magic happens in the studio.
Exactly. Now, if you make mistakes, though, it gets much harder to correct. That's the downside.
Sometimes we can look back through music history, maybe for the past 5 decades at least, and there are songs that had mistakes in them from the studio that ended up making that song iconic.
I completely agree. But it's missing from a lot of music today because it's so easy to correct mistakes that people actually put things out that are completely polished. And if you hear something live, it's never completely polished. I don't care how good you are. It's going to have, rough edges, and the rough edges convey more emotion. And I think that's what people really want from music.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree because you released 3 singles off the new album. You had More Time, Turn Away, and Run Out of Love with Lisa. Is it pronounced Loeb or Loeb?
Lisa Loeb. Oh man,
Lisa Loeb.
She was an icon in I guess it was the 80s or the 90s. She had that song "Stay" that was a big hit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now that song on your album, that's just pure gold. I mean,
thank you.
It has this fun dark feel to it. Maybe we could call it gritty, but it's like part blues, part jazz mixed with some rock and soul vibe to it. And it's the last song on the album, but it is a cool song.
Thank you. No, it was really fun doing that one. That's yeah, that was I love that too.
Now, what was the inspiration of you writing that song?
So Run Out of Love, I think the origin was a therapy session that I did with my wife. And I might have said something to our therapist about, I'm giving, and I find myself, if I'm not getting back what I need, kind of starting to withhold. And he said something about, that's only going to hurt you. And he didn't actually say the words, you can't run out of love, but I went away from it thinking, if you withhold in any kind of relationship, even if you feel like you're getting hurt or not getting what you need, you're actually just hurting yourself, because we all get rewarded for being able to give. And I thought of a way of translating it. I'm like, oh, can't run out of love. And the way I write, I have a song circle that I hang out with. We get together for 4 or 5 consecutive weeks, and we all promise to come up with a song, and that, we play for each other and then critique each other. And then we take a break and we do it again. And I had to write a song that week, and I'm like, oh, Run Out of Love. And I think it was the first week of the group. And when you haven't written for a little while, it had been like a month or two, you sometimes go to a blues structure. And I'm like, well, you can run out of a lot of things. You can run out of breath. You can run out of time. You can run out of gas. You can run out of steam. And I wrote them all down and sort of put it, but you can't run out of love. And that was the origin.
Yeah, I really love that song on the album. And I love the way that you put it last, because the album doesn't end like on this soft, easy tone. It really ends on this fun, very upbeat tone, which I really like. And that's something that I don't really see on a whole lot of albums. Everybody wants to put the upbeat stuff first, and then it kind of slows down until you get to the very end. Yours makes us think, well, we don't see or hear what's coming when we start with song number 1. So I went back and I was listening to the song More Time and Turn Away. And I kept sitting there thinking, why do I know this sound? I said, who is it? Who does this remind me of? So I went back and I listened to some of Harry Chapin's songs. And I went, wait a minute. This is that vibe that these two songs have. And Harry Chapin was an artist when it came to writing lyrics. And so when I listened to More Time and Turn Away, I was like, finally. I said, we haven't heard songs like this in years. I mean, what was your musical inspiration behind both of those songs?
Well, you mentioned Harry Chapin. I love Harry Chapin. I mean, Taxi. I remember hearing Taxi on the radio when I was young and just going, oh man, that's such a cool song. The journey of these two young lovers that meet later in life. And there is, for whatever reason, it's kind of a sad song, right? Because it is this guy that had these ambitions, and now he's a taxi driver, and this woman wanted to be an actress, and now she's kind of trapped in this fancy life. But there's something uplifting about it, something like that's just very, very human about it. So I'll give you the two. One of the things that I find is that if I get really specific about the thing that caused me to write a song, it's harder for the listener to put their own story in there. So I try to leave enough openings so people can go, okay, where is this? So the way when I play Turn Away live, and I just love that song, is if you're and this is what I say, something like this: if you're in a relationship or a job or a friendship, and it was really great at first, it was wonderful, it was everything you wanted. And then all of a sudden, it's not clicking, it's not working, and you kind of know it, but you're not acting on it because it's just really hard to turn away and leave it behind. It's scary. It's facing fear. That's kind of what Turn Away is about. right? And if you don't face that, if you don't go, wait a second, maybe this isn't working, maybe I need to take a step away, um, you diminish. Because you're giving into fear as opposed to your spirit and your energy, and that's really what turn away is about.
And I love the thought process here because you allow the listener to create their own story in their mind when they listen to it. Because all of us, regardless what song we're listening to, our brain is creating its own music video. And it's creating what we think or feel that either the song is about or what it's conveying to us. So for you to not give too much away, I think it's perfect because it allows the listener to make up their own mind and enjoy it in their own way.
That's the idea. That is definitely the idea. But it has to come from something real, and it's tricky. And my relationship ends up influencing a bunch of songs. My wife is pretty private, except for the song "Best of Her," which is on the album, which she really likes, which is about her, and she acknowledges, and she doesn't like it if I'm singing about our relationship. So if I do, I try to disguise it and hide it. But you asked about More Time as well. What I say about More Time is that it's a song about temptation, and that all of us, if we're alive, if we're awake, we're definitely subject to temptation in directions that may or may not be good for us. And a lot of times when we see that temptation, we don't know, is this going to be good for me or is it not going to be good for me? And if it's going to be good for you and it involves a bunch of risk, but the reward is there, you want to do it. And if it's not going to be good for you, you want to shut it down. And More Time is about, wait a second, do I really have to decide right now? Can't I just have a little bit more time to figure this out?
Oh, you know what I love about that? That this is a song that enables people to kind of dive a little bit deeper into knowing wisdom, because wisdom will tell us if we need to move forward, do we need to think about it, or should we just not do it at all? And so this is a really in-depth song.
It ended up being the title cut for the album. And Gus Black, my friend Gus Black, did this amazing video, with these super crazy expensive cameras. I don't know if you saw the video for it with the string quartet on the stage. It's worth checking out, and it hints at the temptation theme. It's really cool. But yeah, and I think if in my life I have a lot of ability to, and this comes from business and being precise, of feeling a strong emotion, but not necessarily acting on it. And I think it's really important in life to be able to, when you have those strong emotions, not just blurt out things. It's just to be considered. But if you don't pay attention to those feelings, if you don't sometimes go, I just have to do this, it doesn't matter, you don't have an interesting life, right? If you don't take the chance and make mistakes and do those things too. So there's a balance there.
I'm curious because you are not only a singer-songwriter. From what I've read, you are a mathematics wizard. When you sit down to either write a song or arrange one of your songs, do you look at it like a mathematic equation?
There's a lot of structure in mathematics that actually applies to songwriting. So I do think of, okay, what's the kind of structure that I want for this song? How do I arrange the verses and the choruses and the bridge? Do I need one? How do I think about this thing? Do I think about the beats? But I don't really look at it as a math problem. But it's a complex problem. So it's similar, but also different, right? When you're looking for the right word, my math brain operates in the realm of crossword puzzles too. I construct crosswords. I don't know if you read that. It's just
yeah, sure did.
fun hobby. And the songwriting is a little more similar to that, which is just like, okay, how do I create something that's creative, that lures people in, that's interesting, that's not too on the nose, but it's not too obscure, and how do I balance that? And the journey, if you go through and you start with my early work, and now you get to here, I feel like I've kept getting better at that, right? Writing things that people go, oh wow, that's cool, that's interesting. What does it mean? But it's not so obscure, it's not so obvious, and I think there's a real dance there.
I love that. Now, my favorite song on this brand new album is See You Shine.
Ah,
I have lost count how many times I have played this song over and over again. Not only do I want to know the story behind this song, but something caught my ear. And ladies and gentlemen, when you listen to Pete's new album more time, and you get down to See You Shine, listen to the very first 5 seconds. You'll know in the first 3 seconds. So Pete, I kept going back and I'm like, why do I know that sound? Why do I know that piano riff? And I kept listening. I'm like, I know that. It's reminding me of a song that I know. What is it? So I went back. So I took
by the way, before you tell me,
yeah.
You're scaring me right now because
no, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Did I actually rip somebody off? Okay, good.
No. So I kept listening. I'm like, why does that piano sound so familiar to me? So I took your song to the side and I brought up Journey's Faithfully. And I just played the very first intro when Jonathan Cain plays the piano. And I'm like, that's it. It has this faithfully feel to it. And I love it.
It's funny. I wouldn't have, I know this song, but I don't remember the piano riff. After this, I'm going to go back. I'm going to listen to that and see if it,
yours is softer. Yours is softer. There's a depth to yours. Cause when you listen to Journey, it's almost like you're hearing an arena rock, but
yeah,
there's a softer, slight slow tone to yours. And I'm like, I know that sound. But here's the part of the song that I truly fell in love with. And I would literally go back. So this song just builds towards the chorus and it explodes. I think that's why I can't stop listening to it. At the 2-minute 38-second mark of this song, it builds to this musical explosion of guitar, piano, and strings that literally, it's almost like it makes you want to float in the sky because it comes up and all of a sudden you get this whole array of music from different instruments coming in at the same time. And then the voice, and you're like, oh my gosh, this song is awesome.
I think that's right where Will Sexton has that really crazy guitar line.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And I remember when he laid that down and we were like, yes, that's amazing. So I'll tell you about that song. And that is, and again, this is how we a lot of times when my band plays, it's actually the first song that we start. And our drummer, I've been playing with a trio a lot, and our drummer actually can play guitar and drums at the same time. He's very talented. So he will start with the bass drum going boom, 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 and I'll just introduce this song, and then we'll get into the riff. But it's a great opener because it's so uplifting. And what I talk about afterwards is that I'm a nerd, and I'm a proud nerd. When I was a kid, it was a little less cool to be a nerd. It's kind of cool to be a nerd now. And I have 2 kids now. I have a 15-year-old and a 14-year-old. I wouldn't call my daughter a nerd. She's really smart. She's 14, but I'd call my son a nerd in a good way. Or just in terms of somebody that likes to deeply understand things and dives in and loves math and science. And I wrote it inspired by him, inspired by kind of a version of myself, and then made up some stuff because I was much more into math than physics and space, but it's a lot easier to invoke that with thinking about space travel and all that. So we have a kid that is just looking up at the sky in a telescope at night, and kind of not finding enough friends yet at school, but just like finding solace in the really smart people like Carl Sagan and Richard Feynman that, um,
I love it.
and the song is for it, it's an encouragement to people that haven't found their place in the world and are taking a little while. And it's, I see you shine, I see you, and we all have this light. And when people see us and bring that light out, it's so magical. And that's what it's about. So
And I found the song to be very positive, very uplifting, and I got the message for those that are still trying to find their way, find their purpose and their calling. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you need a little uplift in the day, See You Shine is a song for you. Now, Pete, you have another song on this album that caught my attention. It was Walk on Water. The intro. Now,
I want to tell you one thing on the See You Shine video.
yeah.
I just this morning got the final lyric video to See You Shine, and I think we'll be releasing it next week. And it actually, the guy that did the lyric video found some really cool stock footage of a kid wanting to be an astronaut. And so I will send that to you.
Oh, you got to send that to me. And like I said, this other song called Walk on Water. And what I love when I went back and listened to Spaces, and then I listened to the More Time album, you have this amazing talent of creating these intros to these songs. And with Walk on Water, same thing with See You Shine. I sat there and I was like, why do I know this? Why do I know this? What is this reminding me of? It gave me a little bit of My Girl by the Temptations. But you use a piano. In My Girl, the intro was a bass guitar and an electric guitar. What inspired the arrangement for this song?
I just sat down on the piano and started playing that, and it sounded cool. And in fact, when we start that live, I actually started just with the riff, just me on the piano. Boom, 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 boom. And it just kicks off. And this one, most of the songs on the record are about deep emotions and struggles and things like that. See You Shine is really an uplifting song. Walk on Water is really similar. It is just about surfing is fun. It's cool. I always wanted to surf. Now that I live in California, I get to surf all the time, and I love it. And that's kind of the whole message of the song, and it's just meant to be really fun.
Yeah, I went to your website, and ladies and gentlemen, you have to go to Pete Muller's website because you're going to get a kick out of so much content there. And Pete, when I went on your website, I had such a blast, not just listening, but watching you and all of your friends get together and do covers like Dream On, Sweet Child of Mine, Sundown, because I listen to Gordon Lightfoot. You have any more planned?
Oh yeah, so I've had this I have this crossword puzzle I do every month, and that's what kind of gave rise to these covers. And so it's in the Washington Post, and the answer every month is a band or a song. So I've been doing it for 12 years now. And after 3 or 4 years, I thought, let me combine these two passions of mine. And whatever the answer was, I would learn a cover of that song. And initially, I would just play it on the piano and sing it. And then I brought some people in, and then, it kind of exploded. So we do one every month. I don't actually, we need to put a link on the website to the monthly ones, because we just did Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which is really, really cool. I can't tell you what next month's is, but I think it's the best one we've ever did, because it's the answer to the puzzle, and it's a contest, so people have to send it in. But yeah, we have one every month, and it's really fun. But that's a good nudge, because some of the ones that you saw, we actually recorded and we put out a couple cover records, but I don't have a link to all of the monthly ones, and they're on a different YouTube channel. And I should probably consolidate it, because we're getting pretty serious about the videos every month to do the covers.
Well, they're not only do they sound fantastic and the arrangements are off the charts, but just even the simple video production of those is so much fun to watch, because when I was watching the one on Dream On, it was I would call it was that one in black and white?
Yeah, that was filmed at Power Station. I should give a shout out to Chris Morgan, who is the guy that does most of these videos and travels with us and films it. He is an amazing videographer. He's also a great musician. He's part of the band, and he's just a wonderful guy. And originally we were going to, I mean, that was filmed at Power Station. Originally we were going to film it on the roof, and there was going to be a dream sequence. And as luck would have it, that day it was pouring rain. So we had to revise what we were doing. But that, yeah, came out great.
I have the most perfect idea for you.
Okay.
You and the rest of your group needs to get together, and on a sunny day, you need to go back to the roof, and you need to do the cover and film it for Get Back by the Beatles, and really recreate the whole rooftop Apple Studio or Apple Records, and use the same song, but do it your way.
Oh, that would be fun.
Oh, it'd be awesome. Yeah. And you guys could pull that off, because I when I watch these videos, I'm sitting there thinking the amount of talent in one room is amazing.
It's really great. I have been lucky enough to play with a lot of great musicians over time, and you know, that's one of the joys, you know, because you inspire them, they inspire you, and you feed off of each other.
That's it. And look, ladies and gentlemen, Pete Muller's brand new album "More Time" was recorded in Memphis with producer and engineer Matt Ross, I should say, Matt Ross Spang. The collaboration with Pete is apparent across the entire record. I mean, together they crafted a collection of looser, grittier slice of rock and soul without sacrificing the open-hearted, expansive nature of Pete's songwriting. Now, no less prominent is the all-star band assembled for the sessions, including celebrated bassist Dave Smith of Al Green and Wilson Pickett fame, famed Texas guitarist Will Sexton of Joe Ely and Rocky Erickson, even Memphis organist Rick Steff, and longtime Wilco drummer Ken Coomer, and a host of local legend horn players and background vocalists. Now, Pete Muller's album, More Time, is exactly what it gives the listener. More time to enjoy the authentic vocals and sounds that come from real musicians, well, bringing sheet music to life. This collection of songs has something for everyone. If you love rock and soul, blues and jazz, even easy listening, then your ears will be filled with joy and put a smile on your face. You will find his brand new album, More Time, on Spotify, so check it out and play every song. And you're going to be like me. You're going to play every song over and over again. And Pete, I want to thank you so much for coming onto the show to share your music and a little bit of behind the insights of this amazing album. And I can't wait to see what you come up with next.
Thanks so much, Ward. I really appreciate it. And just to that end, we were just doing a little recording in London. So we're working on the follow-up record. It's been really a pleasure, and I love it when I talk to someone who's done their homework like you've done.
Well, you're very welcome. As much as it's not only me breaking down film, but I love music so much, and I just want to know the stories behind so many of these songs. And we're all the same when it comes to music. We may hear a note, a riff, a bridge, or a chorus, and we're like, it makes us remember things that maybe we haven't remembered in a while, and it could be happy, it could be sad, or who knows. But hey, music makes the world go around.
Indeed it does.
And it does. And ladies and gentlemen, again, check out Pete Muller's brand new album, More Time. You're going to be a brand new fan. And as for me, I'll see you next time.